Trump says, don't pay this. Why? Because his view is largely that they were funneling money in ways that are untoward. I'm being careful because it's not fraud when Biden gives you the money and you're not doing anything for it. In one instance, they found, I don't know where this payment came from, but there was a story of a child center or some facility was built getting $18 million per month with no one in it. It was completely empty. There was one story about the Biden administration started funneling money through the EPA to various climate change groups that previously had no money on the books. In one instance, an NGO had made only $100 the year prior and received a multi-million-dollar grant. So basically, the gist of this is with USAID, Trump's like, no, we're freezing this. A lower court said pay it. Trump said we're freezing it. A lower court said we're temporarily freezing your ability to freeze the payments, make the payments. Trump appeals. The appellate court says we have no jurisdiction on this one. The executive branch determines if they're going to make these payments. It's called, sovereign immunity. And then they go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court issues a temporary stay on the lower court stay. So Trump's is in effect. The Supreme Court then vacates their stay, triggering the lower court. So Trump now technically has to just make the payments. This is absolutely insane. Let me put it simply. Donald Trump is trying to stop $2 billion of your taxpayer dollars from going out in ways he does not feel are legitimate. There's been no ruling on the legitimacy of these payments, but the court's requiring him to pay it. This is nuts.
I read Alito's dissent, and I was actually really surprised that this was considered, or that the court found this way in the first place. The executive has to be able to say no to things, this type of behavior, and I was really surprised that the SCOTUS found this. I was expecting it to be 5-4 the other way at least. So,
well, this is a slap in the face for all taxpayers. I mean, the kinds of things that were found in this were unbelievable, like LGBTQ activism in Serbia, Egyptian tourism. Nobody would vote for this as a taxpayer, but the judges, I don't know who the judges were that voted for this. I'm kind of curious now.
Oh, it was the liberal justices Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett.
Really? Amy Coney Barrett, too?
Yeah.
Well, that's obvious.
She kind of hates Trump.
Yeah, she's not great.
People are spreading around this clip of her from last night, like looking at Trump with such disdain and disgust on her face.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Well, she was a mistake.
She was awfully verklempt about the death of George Floyd and cried about it.
Oof. Well, I mean, she's better than a liberal, but she's not great. And so I have a question here. This is an interesting issue, right? Let's say there was a federal office that said, we're instructing our employee to go and strangle that woman across the street to death. And then Trump was like, whoa, that's illegal. You can't do that. We're putting a freeze on that. And then liberal groups sue. A court says, no, we're pausing Trump's order. Complete that action, strangle that woman. So Trump, says, no, we're not going to do this. He goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, we're not getting involved. The lower court carry out your order. Thus, the action must be completed. This is a very obvious circumstance where an illegal action was offered up. Trump was trying to stop what appeared to be an illegal action, and the courts told him to do it. Obviously, that's not what we're dealing with. The reason I give that analogy is, in this case, that is Trump's argument. These payments are not legitimate. They must be stopped. And the courts are basically saying, no, Trump, the crime must be completed. Who enforces what in this regard? Trump as the executive branch, if he truly believes this is illegal, and it's not been ruled on the merits, whether it is or is not a legitimate legal payment, maybe it is fraud, who knows? And a lower court says, you can't pause this, it has to get paid. Can a lower court instruct the executive branch to commit illegal actions or commit actions it believes to be illegal?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who can enforce against it?
Yeah. So this kind of does harken back to the question about whether judges have the authority to prevent the president from, or the executive office from making decisions, because this was initially, it stemmed from a U.S. District Court. Amir Ali on February 13th barred the administration from suspending foreign aid payments. So, like, a district judge should not be able to prevent the executive from essentially carrying out the will of the people. The president's the only elected official that's elected by the whole body politic, right? The representatives are all representing certain districts, they're representing states, etc. The president is the only elected official that's elected by all of America. The whole country, he won all 7 swing states. The whole country swung to the right. So the president has a clear mandate. I know that the left hates to hear it, but it was clear that the United States, the people, did not like the way the country was going. You look at polls, the right track, wrong track, the whole country was strongly felt like we were on the wrong track when President Biden was in. Now that President Trump's in, they feel like the country's on the right track. So I do agree with people that say that the SCOTUS should not be making decisions based on what the people think. That's fair. But at the same time, I don't see how I don't see their reasoning for why this should be. And I do think that the president should be the executive and it should be that the executive gets to decide how the executive office, how it's executed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially when it comes to $2 billion, if Trump is saying, hey, this is not legit, USAID is basically shut down. He's laying people off. We've seen over and over again that many of these payments were going to nonsense, ridiculous organizations that were doing nothing, gender studies in Pakistan, whatever it might be. So Trump says, let's not give this money away. How can a court instruct Trump to break the law?
BT dubs, this is who we're being told is a fascist dictator.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.